Hello, friends. Many years ago, I had a job in maintenance. I was the maintenance man for the Expanding Light Retreat, which at the time was called the World Brotherhood Retreat, which Swami Kriyananda later renamed Expanding Light. And for the period of months, maybe as long as a year that I worked there, I had a beautiful, if unlikely sounding, advantage in my job, which is that I got paid almost nothing. And which may seem like a very strange advantage to cite, and this has almost nothing to do with the theme of where I'm going with this talk, but it's an interesting aside. I got paid the food that I got 3 meals a day there that were being prepared in the kitchen for guests and a few staff, including me. And I got my rent paid and I got a small stipend. And that was my livelihood for that period of time. What was beautiful about it is that because I was essentially being paid nothing except my kind of room and board, and that tiny amount of money, I think it was $100 or $200 a month, something like that, is that when I wanted to do a project that involved time, that involved my time, but relatively few other sort of expenditures in the way of materials or other services that cost money, I could do it. You know, as long as it was within reason, I could do all kinds of things in very sort of satisfying ways, because I didn't have to worry about my hours so much. As long as the place was basically functional, if I wanted to do something beautiful, I could actually do it, and it was really quite fun. So, as I said, that's a little bit of an aside, but it was kind of an interesting aside to me anyway, because when that thought struck me, I thought, wow, it actually, other people at the time, a kind of going wage for a carpenter was, say, between $10 and $15 an hour, and I was probably making the equivalent of 50 cents an hour. And it's a strange thing to think how much freedom that brought me, where if I was charging all that money, people would have been watching very, very closely and very carefully, where are his hours going? I would have had to track my hours. I would have had to be, very cautious and careful about each thing, and it would have been scrutinized very, as it of course should have been if I was doing that. So anyway, all of that aside, I developed over the span of those months a kind of mentality that in some ways has stayed with me for my entire adult life. And this was in the early 1980s, maybe 84 or 85 when I was doing this work. So it's been 35 years, give or take. And that mentality is that I am aware of, and this is the example that goes with the title of this video. I'm aware of a door that squeaks when I go through it. And so, I'll go through the door of some dentist office, some medical facility, some store, the front door to our own apartment here. And if it squeaks, it bothers me, and I want to do something about it. And I'm quite familiar with all the different lubricants that you can buy in spray bottles and little oil cans and, silicone spray, graphite spray, WD-40 oil kinds of sprays, petroleum-based kinds of sprays, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, all of those, I speak all of those languages. And I have even gone back to a place like a dentist's office or like a medical facility, with their permission, of course, after asking, do you have a bottle of such and so on the premises? No, we don't. Okay, well, I'm going to get one. If it's okay with you, I'm going to oil your front door so it doesn't squeak. Oh, okay. Wow. Hey, whoa, that really made a difference. So our front door to our apartment here was squeaking. First, it was the screen door outside, and it wasn't really a squeak because oil would not solve that problem. It was a kind of a sound. It's very annoying. And every single time you came in the door, you'd hear that darn noise. Well, what it was is that the frame had not been fully attached to the frame of the screen door, had not been fully and firmly attached to the building. And so, I finally figured that out, and I drilled a hole through it, and I added a really beefy, almost a bolt really, a kind of a large lag screw would be the way we describe that in America. And lo and behold, that noise went away. Okay, well, that solved that problem. I had tried oiling it up one side and down the other, and that was getting nowhere. And anyway, it was annoying to listen to. It was thrilling to have it gone. However, then the inside door, the hinges were fine, but the handle squeaked. And so again, every time you'd open the handle, you'd hear this squeaking kind of noise. And again, very annoying. So I finally, after putting up with this for quite a while, I finally took the thing apart, got the oil out, squirted it all down, cleaned it all out, put it all back together. It took all of 2 minutes to do that job. The second one. The first one maybe took 10 or 15 minutes, but I had put off those 10 or 15 minutes, and I had put off the 2 minutes just because it was, it was unknown. It was one of these things that was unknown. Would it take me 2 minutes, or would it take me 22 minutes, or would it take me longer still? Would I end up breaking the doorknob in the process of trying to heal the squeaking of it? All of those questions were sort of in the back of my mind. Meanwhile, every single day, that stupid squeak was there, and it was just really annoying. And so my reason for telling all this elaborate story about squeaking doors is that in our lives, there are things that start to squeak. It's nature's way, it's the universe's way, it's God's way, however you want to frame that in your own mind, of saying, please pay attention to this and do something about it. Because when you do, the energy will begin to flow. Now I go to my front door, which is not 8 feet from where the camera is right now. And every time I turn the handle and I open the door, it's like, it's just a door, it's just a handle, it's no big deal. Other people would not notice it. Because, why? Because it works. It doesn't squeak, it doesn't, it isn't scraping, etc., etc. All the different ways that you can think of that doors stop working. And so the energy moves freely in and out. Some of you may be familiar with the Oriental method of tuning into the energy flow of a house, or lack thereof, or blockage thereof, called feng shui. And its Indian counterpart called vastu. And they relate to each other. They have similarities. We've made something of a study of feng shui and a little bit of a study of vastu, but vastu is, as many things Indian, is an elaborate science, very involved. It can take, years of study to really get into it, and we have not gone so deeply with it. But one of the basic things of both of those sciences is energy must flow. And it must flow in harmonious ways, not shocking, outrageous ways, not annoying, impeded kinds of ways. It just should flow correctly. And when it does, good things happen. Good things happen for our health. Good things happen for our relationships. Good things happen for our finances. Good things happen for our spiritual evolution and understanding and wisdom and compassion and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of good things happen. And when it doesn't, when it's impeded, blocked, etc., lots of bad things happen, or lots of good things don't happen, which is kind of another way of saying the same thing. So my message to you today is a very simple one. Be aware of the squeaking doors. And I don't just mean the literal physical doors that squeak. Yes, those too. But also just be aware of the dumb little things in life. You know, the thing that you have to dodge every time you walk into that room because it's in the way and you haven't moved it out of the way. The clutter, the junk that accumulates, all of those things, I shouldn't say all of them, many of those things represent literally seconds to minutes of effort to deal with them, which yields incrementally wonderful results over a period of time. Others, okay, are more complicated and they may take hours or even days to address. But to deal with the simple ones can make such a disproportionately enormous difference in our lives that it is so worth doing. So I just leave you with this simple thought. Deal with the squeaking doors of your life, and you will find great blessing as a result. Namaste.